Hello, my lovelies, and welcome back. Another Friday, another fabulous guest. Today, my guest is, and he will introduce himself in a second, the fabulous Marcel, another fellow German. Yes, I find them all. But we will do this in English, people, so don't worry. Please stay tuned. And Marcel, please introduce yourself. Marcel is the founder of the German Tolkien Society, as is one of his accomplishments, but he will tell you more, and then we will tell you about what we will be talking today. This is a bit more of a free flow talk. We don't have just one topic. We have a lot to come for you people. So, Marcel.
Just chatting, basically. And we will have to interject loads of German swear words because people don't understand. Get you started.
People
thank
love
you very
that.
Much.
People say
I
German
know!
sounds like Klingon to them. So I was like, okay.
You know, a good Klingon opera should not be underestimated. It's absolutely. Thank you for having me, Helen. It's just absolutely lovely to be here because Tolkien obviously is the topic today, and loads of other things. You know, we're going to be talking about the show. I'm pretty sure we're going to be talking about what the German Tolkien Society is doing, for example. I do. I work as a freelance translator, English to German. So I've done a couple of books that some of you may be interested in. You know, for example, there's a book by a guy called Henry G. Science in Middle-earth, which is an exceptionally great book. One of the chapters is, for example, how could we possibly do mithril today? Because there are a bunch of specialists, scientists, engineers, metallurgists, and he brought all of them together, and they take a chapter each and go through the things that you can do and the Palantir. Does a Palantir work? Are there technologies that we can use to do that? So it's one of the books.
Have they talked to Vita Workshop already? Because
and John Garth, which is an excellent book on Tolkien and the Great War. I did that together with my colleague Birgit Herden. I translated that.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
Oh, okay, good. I'm not prepared for this interview, people.
Don't worry about it. I'm not prepared either. So it's absolutely essential. Cheers. It's wonderful to be here.
Yeah, cool.
No, I had my birthday last week, and obviously I have too many bottles still left because I couldn't drink it all. Anyway, back to the topic. I also did, together with Dr. Helmut Pesch, who was an excellent translator colleague, the Tolkien exhibition catalog, which came up with Claire Cotter, Hobbit Presse, last year. And if you collect Star Trek collectible starships, if you go to your kiosk around in Germany, it's the collection of 180 starships and magazines telling you which NCC 7001 A, B, C, D, E, whatever it is, and I do the magazines and change that kind of stuff. So I do everything fantasy and science fiction related. It's a lot of fun, from urban romance to fiction, non-fiction books. And but obviously my first love and biggest love of all is Tolkien and Middle-earth. So basically, I think that's the reason why I'm here today.
Maybe. Or we can talk Star Trek. No, just kidding.
Anytime. You started with Klingons, right?
I know. Good, perfect. So, German Tolkien Society. Tell us, before we started recording, we were talking about this a little bit, how this actually started, and it's a really fun story. So yeah.
Well, the thing is, I'm pretty sure that a lot of you people out there have a similar story of, reading The Lord of the Rings for the first time or The Hobbit for the first time. And sometimes it's, your dad or your mom read the book to you, or a friend gave it to you and said, read the book. It's a really great story. And the same thing happened with me when I was a kid. I think I was about 14. We went on a holiday in then Yugoslavia, Croatia, and I got a sunburn the very first day. Look at me. I'm like pasty white, cheesy white, right? So if I go out and very much so. Anyway, I got a sunburn and I couldn't go out because it was really, really horrible. And the only thing, because, the rest of the family, they just went out. They said, well, it's your own fault. You could have put on some sun lotion anyway. There was a book. It was a green box. German Tolkien fans will know that. We have a horribly green, huge box of The Lord of the Rings. And I didn't know what that was. And I started reading it. And it took me about 2.5 days, and I was totally hooked. And when I came back to Cologne, where I lived, I went to the British Council Library and got every book they had on Tolkien.
Aww.
Now, get on a few more years, I found other Tolkien fans worldwide, because the Tolkien Society asked for a European representative for the Tolkien Society.
So the British one, the OG.
Exactly. Exactly. And I got a printout, for everyone who's older than
most of the people are like, what is he talking about?
I got a printout of addresses from everyone in Europe. At the time, I think it was like 50 or 60 people. And I wrote to them. And there were a couple of people in Germany. And one of them was actually in Cologne, just as me. And we met up. Yeah. And somehow I started studying English literature and linguistics. And he was there and And then I went to Oxford for the very first time in 1994 to one of the Oxen moots of one of the events, the main event of the Tolkien Society. Yeah. And I met a very, very, very drunk Finnish guy late at night.
Which is nothing special, people. This is how Finnish people are.
I have to say I was a little bit tipsy myself. I was at University College, and we started chatting because I know one Finnish line, because I had to do it in phonetics and phonology at the University of Cologne. Lepsi epsi geite duman kohteliasti. And no Finnish out there will ever understand that. I think it's one of the 10 commandments.
Oh, okay.
I think it is. I think it's the one about, you have to be true to your husband and wife.
Okay.
Or
faithful
I don't know.
To you. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Whatever. I went to him because I knew he was Finnish. He had vodka in his hand, so I knew he was Finnish. And I said, Lepsi epsi geite. He said, what the hell are you talking about? And then we started chatting, and I said, how cool, how are you here? Why are you from Finland? Blah, blah. And he said, well, we have 11 major cities in Finland, and we have 11 societies. And I said, what? You're like a tiny country. You have like a couple of million only. How do you have like 11 literary societies? And he looked me in the eye and said, well, that's how we roll.
You just gotta love the Finnish. Seriously,
they are just absolutely hilarious. I love the Finnish. Anyway, and that bugged me so much that I was so angry in a sense about this. I thought, look, I'm from Germany. We have like 80 million people, and we didn't have a literary society. So the next thing was I did a special interest group, and I started, getting people together. And in the end, I sort of forced people, with the web and whatever, to do it like hobbits do in red ink, 7 signatures. And we founded the German Tolkien Society because I could not live with the shame knowing that the Finnish have 11 and we don't have one. So.
Oh, and when was it founded? What year was that?
1st of August, 1997 is the official date.
Wow.
That was the one when the 7 of us went to the Kiffhäuser Keller. For people, with medieval history, that's
Kiffhäuser, a very ancient, mystical place for the German. And, when the ravens house it, when the ravens come, our king re-emerges and saves us.
We held speeches, much meat and beer was consumed, and we celebrated very much. Actually, it was a pub. It was just but they had a nice, lovely cellar room, vaulted cellar room, and we did speeches, and then we founded it, and we were incorporated as a registered charity in January 98. So usually we do Jubilee on 97, 98, whatever it feels comfortable like. Anyway, and that's cool. The idea was to get people together, to get the option. And I mean, today it's YouTube, today it's the world, it's online, we can meet up whenever we want to. But back in the day, you had to found something like these registered charities to start getting people together. So
Oh, it's a beautiful story of how it came together. That's cool. Yeah. So, okay, and so all around the world today we have a lot of Tolkien societies. Can you tell somebody who has literally no clue but might be thinking, okay, I want to join somewhere where I can exchange views, where maybe we can. Is there a book club? How does it function? Is it because, a lot of people hesitate, and I told you this before, because I really do think there was a kind of division between the people, because Tolkien Society, for you as a random, let's say, random person on YouTube
Yeah,
who
yeah, yeah,
maybe
yeah, yeah.
has just seen the movies and is thinking about, should I read the book, should I not? Maybe that
Right.
person is hesitant and is like, but maybe they're just literal, like people who have read the books 25 times, who have 4 PhDs, on anything Tolkien related. Do they even
Minimum.
talk minimum? Exactly. Do they even talk to me? Do they think I'm,
Yeah, yeah.
like, so what do you think? What would you recommend?
I think one of the best compliments I've ever gotten from someone who, just as you just said, we were at a convention. I mean, the thing is, for example, I didn't only found the German Tolkien Society, but I also co-founded the first ever fantasy film convention in Europe, which is called RingCon, and later on HobbitCon, which is today
You did
MagCon.
that.
Yeah, I did that.
I
It's my
love the ring.
idea.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Woo! When is
So
it happening again? Is it happening next year?
it's happening this year, as far as I know. It should be happening, but I'm not quite sure now.
Okay.
Because you still have to look up, pandemic rules, regulations,
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
and some guests aren't coming because,
Yeah, of
and
course.
so on. But the usual thing, it's pandemic. What can
Yeah.
you do? But
Yeah.
the thing was, I founded the German Tolkien Society, so I was the guy with the literature, right? And my nickname was always Olve of Alqualonde. I'm one of the Teleri, right? And you know why? Because actually I wanted to be Kurdan. I wanted to
Okay.
be the German Kurdan in a sense.
Okay.
But many, many years ago, I went to one of the
But where's your
biggest
beard? I don't see your beard.
hang on. There's a trick. Hang on. Many years ago, I went to one of the biggest then role-playing conventions, the FeenCon, which happened for 30 years, and it's a great thing. It used to be in Bonn. Next year, it's going to be in Krefeld.
Yeah.
And I met up with a guy who had written to me and saying, "Look, Marcel, you're the guy with the society, right? With the books and the literature and blah blah."
With the books.
Yeah, and I'm going to do the films. And I said, "What?" Herderinge the biggest German-speaking website for the film trilogies. And I met him. Stefan Servos is a great guy, good friend of mine. And he did that. And he was so successful that he was one of the few who actually got invited to the films while they were being done. No, while they were being done. It was a top secret journey. He wasn't allowed to tell anyone because Herderinge was almost as big as the One Ring Net at the time.
Yeah, they were. Yeah. I remember. Yeah.
Information. So the two of us, Olve and Kurdan, because that was his nickname.
Oh
I said, "What is your nickname?" It's Kurdan. I said,
"Okay,
fuck!
Damn it."
So that's how I became Olve. And we decided films and books go hand in hand.
Yes.
There are so many people who are gonna come to the books through the films. People from the books will love the films, whatever.
Which is a beautiful thing,
Yeah,
I love when people
it's
come to
not
my
a contradiction.
channel. No, but a lot of you must admit that some of the literal, like people that let's call them scholars, are very, because I love when somebody comes on my channel and says, I just watched the movies, but I find this so interesting. I just bought the Silmarillion. I love this.
How
is
cool.
Literally this is why I do this, seriously. And because I want more people to know, first of all, yes, the Lord of the Ring books are amazing, but my channel is completely Silmarillion content, right? So I want them to see there's more out there. Elves are not one-dimensional, there's a whole...
they are not. That is quite a surprise here. I didn't know that about this channel. I have to reconsider being here. Feanor, no.
Hello, I'm a total Feanor stan. Look at me, I'm a Nolder. You're Teleri. Justice for Feanor, justice for Meglin. Come on.
We have to talk.
Eol did nothing wrong, Marcel.
Oh, come on, not that one. That is so okay.
No,
let's get back to the topic.
Exactly. But you must admit, that there were people do hesitate, and I find beautiful if you now say, don't hesitate, contact clubs like the Tolkien Society, because there are various topics that are covered, and people from all over the places. Somebody prefers just to talk about, I don't know, Years of the Trees, and just people talk about, okay, you read the Lord of the Ring for the first time, let's discuss. So
Yeah, but that was the idea when I founded the society. I thought, they're gonna be people come with from a different background and
yeah,
with different expectations.
yeah,
So what I did was I suggested that we should be doing different kinds of events. So
mhm,
we have like the Tolkien days, which are meant for families and
mhm.
kids.
Oh,
It's basically like a Renaissance fair with a lot of
cool.
Tolkien in it.
Yeah.
So you have like 20 Uruk-hai beating the crap out of elves, because that's what Uruk-hai do, and people in camps and all this great stuff. And then you have the Tolkien seminar, which is the academic conference,
Yeah.
where you take things seriously.
Yeah.
And then you have the Tolkien Ting, the Tolkien Moot, which
Yeah.
is for the membership, where like 150 to 200 people come together on a beautiful
Mhm.
castle. But it's mostly, you can do an academic workshop, but you can also get drunk in the pub downstairs in the castle. So
There's
it's
something
you
for,
have.
and all interests are covered.
Exactly. And that's why we came up with Rincon. Stefan and me, we sat together
Mhm.
and said, look, I'm doing the films, you're doing the books. Why not
Yeah.
bring these two together? And how could we do a convention that is so open and
Cool.
so welcoming that everyone comes along? And that's
Yeah.
what we did. So it's been hugely entertaining, I have to say. It's
Oh,
because that's the idea. I can criticize the films without any problem for about
yeah.
5 hours standing,
Yeah.
but I can also sit down and do a pajama night sleepover and just
Yeah.
get drunk every time Gimli says something stupid,
Yeah.
which is very easy because he says stupid things all of the time.
Yeah, which is sad that he was there for comedic relief, but that's another topic,
Yeah, topic. Yeah, absolutely.
I hope they
But that's the
won't do
thing.
that in these ones. Yeah. Yeah.
It's all about what I wanted to do, and I think that the society has been doing in Germany really pretty well.
Yeah.
It's the enthusiasm.
Yeah.
People come to Tolkien in so many different ways, to the
Yeah.
films in so many different ways,
Yeah.
and yes, of course, sometimes you get a bit too serious with things, but particularly when you come to the events, it's when you can
Yeah.
talk to people, when you have the chance of actually chatting. I
Yeah.
know that particularly online and in social media,
Yeah.
things obviously get out of hand sometimes.
Yes. For all the
But
keyboard, shout out to all the keyboard warriors out there.
I mean, look, one of my pet peeves are wrong fake quotes. Like this
I
one.
know. I
Yeah,
think
look at this,
I know this is
because
the best he
the,
showed me
the,
before.
there are people who claim that there is a Tolkien connection with the house to the left of me, and that's just nonsense. So I take it, the time and figure it out and tell them, no, that's not true, or this is possibly true. So that's the kind of stuff I
Yeah.
like to do, because fake quote are just fake news. So that's this is one
I
of my
know.
pet peeves. But I would
And you also
never.
tweet about it sometimes. I love that. I love
Yeah,
those tweets.
very very much so. But it's all in good fun, because
Yeah.
sometimes people just don't know. People just assume because they've seen it somewhere or read it somewhere.
Yeah.
And let's face it, we all love to think that the house to the right of me had some connection to the professor. That'd be nice.
Yeah.
So, but
Yeah.
no,
It's like everybody today thinks Marie Antoinette said, let them eat cake, which she never did, justice for Marie Antoinette. Anyway.
brioche. It's always brioche. It's much more important. Yeah.
Exactly.
And brioche
Good.
is much tastier than cake, I have to
It
say.
is, yes.
Yeah,
Especially with foie gras, but that's another topic.
sure.
So yes, so you would say Tolkien societies and these kind of clubs are more inclusive now, open, because you know what you mentioned that before, and I do see that. Obviously, I look at my statistics here, and I told you this before. So most of
Yeah.
you people, you out here, are men, apparently, according to my statistics, and most of you are hi, most of you are 18 to 25, which I find
Oh, cool.
fascinating, because that means this is a whole new generation out there, right, who are approaching these topics, who maybe have seen the films for the first time literally just a few years ago, who never had this cinematic experience you and I had, but still they seem to love this topic so much. And
Yeah.
these books, actually the books are almost 100 not yet, but soon, 100
Yeah.
years old, when he first started, writing, like the
Yeah.
Erendel part and the Gondolin part and all that. That's such a long time ago. And still, all these themes like friendship, like pity pity meant something else in those times, during Tolkien's times, but all these topics are still important till today. And I love that a new generation is approaching Tolkien, and I find it fascinating. And you are watching all these videos, all these nerdy stuff, me talking about two trees in the Undying Lands. Somebody would call this crazy, an 18-year-old
No, no.
kid. No, we wouldn't. And I love this.
Yeah.
And this just shows how like how modern he still is in his views. And I think we will get to this, because there was a lot of, you wanted to talk about diversity, and I was like, no, we can't talk about diversity here.
No, I'm a white guy. Don't do that. No, that's a stupid idea.
Exactly. No. We can just lose here. But the thing is, what I find so beautiful, and what I'm interested in, how this will be rolled out. So our first, the books were the first thing that was out there, right? It's literature, right? Literature is art. Then there were visual elements. There were the Rankin Bass, all the animated thingies from the 70s, from the 80s. Then there's this weird Russian version of the Lord of the Ring out there. I can only oh my
god, fantastic. It's the best. Gratilini. Yeah. It's
I'll link this, because people, you won't believe what is that. Like, this is really creepy, but anyway.
Yeah.
And Tom Bombadil is in there, by the way.
Which is very good. Yeah.
Which is good, yes. And, then came the film. So for a new generation, so somebody who read the books, like in the 70s, 80s, whatnot, then there came a new element with a visual element, so with the movies, and so I really love, and now we get a TV series. So obviously we learn from things like Game of Thrones, from Star Wars, who went from just being cinematic movies to a series format, and you can go deeper, you can flesh out characters, you can tell a complete different story, background stories, all these things with a series. And I know a lot of people, criticize this and say, I'm not going to watch it. For me, and tell me how you feel, for me, movies and visual presentation of something, not just Lord of the Rings, of anything. I studied literature, so I literally hear there are gazillions of books. For me, books and that format is something completely different, and I keep it different, and I know the approach and how you tell a story needs to be different, actually. Is that the same for you? So why you're not, because a lot of people are, this show is doomed, blah blah blah. I don't feel that way.
No, the thing is, we have to be honest. We now have the TCU. We have the Tolkien Cinematic Universe, because it's become, let's face it, it's become a franchise, become a brand. When it started out as a couple of books, there was one thing, and it was small in comparison. We're still talking about the single most successful novel of the 20th century, so it's quite big anyway. But
and most influential, according to Folio Society. They did their annual, they always do these annual things where they ask the people worldwide, what is the most influential book besides the Bible from our time? And it's always Tolkien for years and years and years now.
I do a regular column for my people over at my Patreon on the different surveys and polls that have been done the last 20 to 30 years. And whenever there's like the best book, in the UK, or the best book in Germany, most favorite book, it's always like the Lord of the Rings is either the first one or top 3 or top 5. So no, the thing is, what I like about the TCU, it's one of the nice details right now. We're talking about the Amazon series. I'm quite sure for a long, long time coming up in a couple of years. But we have a film. There's a film coming. And nobody's talking about War of the Rohirrim. It's like, it's anime, and it's animated, and it's Japanese, and it's awesome. And it's going to look fantastic. And Philippa Boyens is involved, as an advisor. Some people would say it's good. Some people would maybe say, no, not quite so good. But it's, it's always, you can discuss things. Anyway, no, but I like the idea that we can now get new stories, because the Second Age is basically a blank page. That one chapter in the Silmarillion about the Second Age is like, what, 20 or 30 pages long, and it's thousands of years, and you could make so much out of it with the goalposts that we have. I mean, if you have Celebrimbor and Eregion and Lindon and Numenor and Sauron. So to me, quite interesting for now is actually how is Amazon handling the whole affair, which is something people don't really talk about. It's something, they have the picture came out and the internet exploded and everyone went berserk. And I mean, I literally tweeted when it came out. I actually was online when they posted it. It was first on Twitter, then they put it on Instagram, and then on Facebook.
Yeah.
And I was online when it happened, and I posted on Twitter, "Oh my God, is that a bun? Is it red hair? Is it blonde hair? Oh, I don't know. Is it a woman? Is it a man? I don't know." And I just wrote down 1,000 characters of nonsense because I knew the whole thing would go up in flames and people would start shouting and ranting. And it was absolutely fantastic to see, because they are very clever in how they are not doing
marketing
things.
It.
It's absolutely splendid. I'm really impressed, because the picture says nothing. It hints at the two trees. It could be the two trees, but are they still alive in full vigor? Or
I know we
they
had this discussion on Twitter, you and I.
So and who's the person, and why are there like people chilling on little swan boats out on the lake? What are they doing? I mean, this is
it's
like
your people, the Teleri. You must know.
No. Well, we know about boats. Like, we don't destroy things, we don't do shit. It's all Feanors anyway.
It's Stefan Mari. Stop it.
No, it's the thing that what I really, really find so well done is that they have completely turned around how the whole promoting as a film production studio, as a serious production studios. 20 years ago when the films came out, it was always this thing, Warner Brothers or New Line Cinema, and they had the legal cases with the actors and Peter Jackson because of the money, and was all these negative headlines, and the family wasn't happy, and la. And now 20 years later, they just bonded. And they now have a deal.
Do you think this is why that happened after Christopher's death? It is easier now?
I'm pretty sure that he said do so. I cannot for the life of me believe that this man who held the reins on the biggest intellectual property in all of mankind, instead of, he could have sold them Silmarillion for $20 billion if he just wanted to. But he didn't, because he didn't care for the money. But I'm pretty sure that he realized after 20 and 30 years of legal battles and negative headlines and this stuff, he said, why don't we do things together? Because it's much nicer. Now you get these little tidbits of the first season is done and the family is quite happy with the outcome. And Amazon is happy, and Warner Brothers is doing a great film, and everyone is just, it's all sunshine and rainbows. And it's like, wow. Who was the genius? Who was the genius who came up with that? And that is something that I would like to find out in a couple of years. When we look back at this huge series. Right now, we know nothing. No. We know a bit of the cast. We know the showrunners and the great writers. And if you see those, I am not at all worried at all. They can write fantastic stories. So, and I'm looking forward to the series. I mean, we can all criticize as much as you want, but I'm looking forward to it. I want to see new people come to Tolkien. And that's the fun of it. That's the fun of it.
And I love, I always tell this story. So, because I read the Witcher books, a good friend of mine, she's Polish, and, this is like, they had Kalevala because they obviously have ancient texts as well, but Polish people really love that because there's a lot of that East European mythology in there, these superstitious stories, and she recommended it to me. So years ago I read the Witcher books and I really enjoyed them and liked them, and then the show came out and a lot of people started reading the books because they were so fascinated. And isn't that beautiful? And I really do think that might, I don't know Christopher Tolkien, I don't know anyone from, Tolkien
Yeah.
estate, but they must have seen with the success of books like from John Garth, all these people who wrote secondary literature on
Yeah.
the books of his father. They are bestsellers. All of these books were bestsellers. For he brought out the three great tales. People
Yeah.
bought these books. It's not even a coherent story. I mean, The Children of
Yeah.
Húrin is, right? That's a book you can read from start to finish and not be like, what is this? But if like
Yeah.
Fall of Gondolin is my favorite story ever told. But
It's
if
the
you
best
read the
ever.
book, I know. Oh, you agree?
Yeah, well, it's Gondolin. Come on, look at it. The best
I
ever
love
single piece of
you.
art is Ted Naismith's when Tor comes to Gondolin.
Yes.
The sight of
Yes.
that is wow. That
Yeah.
is the image. I mean, imagine that as a television series.
Oh my
Gondolin.
God.
So,
This is, my Twitter handle is I'd rather be in Gondolin. So this is, with the,
yeah,
before the fall, obviously.
sure.
But Meglin's future ex. But
Mm-hmm.
this is this is with the houses, what he created there. I wish we would know more.
Yeah,
But anyway, but this is what I said. And people still are buying this book, although it's so hard to read. With all the
yeah,
notes but people
yeah,
bought it, and he must have seen, and the society, and his family must have seen people are still interested in these topics. Why can't we give everybody an approachable medium with a TV show, with a series where we can flesh out characters, where we have time to tell a story, to develop characters. And I love that. I love that approach. And again, I don't compare it to the books. Why would I? I
yeah.
don't. So, yeah.
Well, the thing is, I think that a lot of people who, particularly with the film trilogies, and they're a massive success, and because Christopher and some members of the family have been critical about how the
Yeah.
films told the stories, etc. It's really difficult to explain. But imagine your dad had written the single most successful novel of the 20th century, or just a book for you, just for you as a kid.
Yeah.
Like The Hobbit,
Yeah.
that's your family story. That's something your
Yeah.
dad told you every single night.
Yeah.
And one of the anecdotes, with Christopher is, for example, that Tolkien came into the room and he was talking about another chapter in The Hobbit. And Christopher said, yeah, but yesterday you said that Thorin had a silver tassel, and that, I don't know, one of the other guys had a copper tassel, but now you said it's green and blue. That's not right, Daddy. And he said, son, and went back and changed the colors of the tassels, and this kind of stuff, and the hoodies. And so that is deeply personal and deeply intimate in a sense. So that's the very personal relationship that Christopher and the family, obviously, to the stories have. And to them, it's books. So nothing else is of importance. The one thing that is really, really good, and I think there is a massive change, and I'm pretty sure that Christopher has definitely had his say on this, is they said, obviously so many people love the stories that our father told, that they should do it, and we are engaged in it, because the family obviously is involved in the stories, in the development of the stories. And that is
they
a
had
much
and scholars like that on board, which
and John Howard is an illustrator who has this amazing visual rendition of Middle Earth. So it's and that's what I said. They changed their approach. Everyone involved in the Legendarium, and I think that this is a very, very good way of going forward. But because why keep it all away? I'd love to see Gondolin, and at the same time, I don't want to see it because the story is so magnificent. It's so beautifully told. And then the moment you do a picture, it is fixed. Because most people nowadays think that Aragorn is Viggo Mortensen. And let's face it, Viggo Mortensen is like the hottest guy ever, and he plays it wonderfully. And I understand it. I can perfectly understand that. But that doesn't have to be Aragorn for everyone. Because there were pictures of Aragorn before, and there have been pictures of Aragorn since then.
And now we know with a new book that just came out that he can't have a beard, which is very interesting. Are you already on that part?
And his now full name is No Beard Aragorn.
Yeah,
King of the renewed Gondor. Because no, you don't get a beard, man.
Yeah.
It's really disappointing, isn't it? Yeah.
Well,
No, but
Kieran can keep his. He's old AF.
he is, and he is the coolest piece of shit in the Legendarium.
He is.
I did it.
Would you say, Marcel, interesting.
Yeah.
So you're a scholar. Would you agree with me? This is my pet theory. He is one of the 144 OG, so one of the 74 Teleri born in Cuivienen. Please agree with me. Come on.
You've obviously started Nature of Middle Earth, right? So you've seen the
No.
because you haven't.
No.
In that case, I will simply refer you to reading The Nature of Middle Earth.
No, tell me. Now you need to tell me.
No, I'm not going to tell you. It's a spoiler.
I would have read it. It just didn't arrive. It's
I'm not
still
telling.
not
No,
here.
I'm not telling. No.
Okay.
Well, you can get an ebook. An ebook is really easy, you know.
Okay, please comment. People comment to help a girl out here.
The book it's so outrageously odd, interesting, fascinating.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But again, as you said, it's not readable in the sense of it's a really nice novel, fiction, whatever. It's like more footnotes. You know, it feels more like footnotes everywhere and endnotes than a readable text.
Yeah.
But that doesn't matter because we're Tolkien fans, and that's the kind of stuff we like.
Yeah. Well, at this point, I'm okay. You know, I'm used to these. I'm not used to a coherent story. Children of Hurin was the highlight of my, like last 20 years of something new Tolkien. So anyway, good. Okay, so we talked about this a little bit. So let's maybe get to things and characters and places. I find that fascinating. I wanted to, talk about Numenor with you because that is yay, let's talk Numenor. Because this is, and you said there's not that much. Yes, not in the Silmarillion, but you have a lot of additional content. You have, like, with the story of Aldarion and Erendis, you actually have 30, 40 pages even, and it's not just about two people. It's literally about a time of where Numenor started to get in contact with Middle Earth again. The colonizing starts, and this is what was I really want to say, because, that is a topic we are discussing till today, because we as Europeans, obviously, just like the Numenorians, did wrong in colonizing countries. This is, and he, even in his book, him being born in, sorry, my cat is really annoying, meets 9. Me being very German right now. I have 3 cats.
It's very nice that the international word for Katze is Meets. Yes, Meets.
Well, her actual name is Meets. So, I'm Queen Beruthiel minus 7 cats. I'm working on it. I have 3. So anyway, but Numenor, colonizing, right? This is during the time of Aldarion and Erendis. They started to go back to Middle Earth. And in the beginning, it was all good. They went there as teachers and they, came there as friends. But then it, got a bit sour over time. Each king going down the line, it got worse and worse and worse. And the ugly side of colonization, came out. And would you be interested, because a lot of people are, oh my God, as soon as I hear or see anything political in the show, I'll quit that. But if you now read stories like Aldarion and Erendis, he is talking about colonization. Even at his time, that was a big topic. So is that something, do you think that's too hot of a topic? Is that something you would like to, no? Okay.
No, the thing is, we just had Oxenmoot. Last weekend was Oxenmoot. The Tolkien Society's weekend was absolutely fantastic. And Sarah Westwick did an exceptional talk on the colonialism in Middle Earth, on Numenor, and that was absolutely fantastic. And they talked about the exceptionalism, which is one of the sublying, underlying topics that makes a nation so wonderful and great that the nation should go out and start ruling the world. Yeah, and I think that it's definitely for the series is going to be an interesting topic to show and deal with, because this is the 21st century. You can no longer do series just like they had been done 100 years ago, and it's good that we tackle all these recent political issues and problems that we have, because one of my favorite shows is going to have its last season soon. It's Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Oh,
Now,
I love it.
And then that's just like a silly detective story set somewhere in New York, but they could not do the last season after, Black Lives Matter and everything that happened in the United States.
And not included,
They could not do it the same way they had it done the 7 seasons before. So I'm really looking forward to see how they are going to deal with that very, very recent and a very important topic. And I'm pretty sure that Numenor and how kingdom, how royalty, how the right to rule is being dealt with, and particularly, we can name it, we can say it. It's sexy Sauron, it's awesome Anatar, it's the person who is going to be so incredibly charming, wowing, and good looking that everyone is just going to say, okay, cool, we're going to do it just the way you want it to do.
So you think this is the seductive part, also based on his looks, how it will be portrayed? Because I disagree. I think for me so the power of your voice is very important in Tolkien, and I really do think he plays a bit. I think he plays that a bit. I don't know, but when you hear something, we're both German. When you hear something like the Nazis speaking, when you listen to somebody like Goebbels, like Hitler, how they spoke, this is not how they normally spoke. When you hear these, Reichsparteitag-Gelände in Nuremberg, when you hear these, yes. So this is what people still have in mind, and the power of voice, and how a powerful voice can change people's minds and hearts. And you see that in Saruman. Saruman is very powerful because of his voice. Feanor, the speech he gave, with this powerful speech, he convinced Nolde elves to leave their ancestral home. No, ancestral is in Middle-earth, actually in Cuven, but you know what I mean. Most of them were born in Valinor at that time. He made them leave their homeland to go to an unknown land to chase a dark lord and 3 stones that have been stolen. Nobody even cared for the bloody Silmarils, I mean, Galadriel wanted to go, to rule on her own. Everybody had a different motive still. His speech was so powerful. Then they come, like Luthien destroying, like they have exchange, and Fingolfin singing and
poetry.
All these Finrod, exactly. Poetry and song is so important. So I do think it's more the aspect of sexy Sauron and him convincing people by that aspect. But I obviously don't know. That's
we had a bit of fun and the huge conference in 2019. We had a conference in Birmingham, the Tolkien 2019 conference, and we did a panel back then, and it had basically just started, more or less. We heard about the cast and the crew, and I suggested, they are going to look for comparable series that are incredibly successful in how they work. So if you Game of Thrones, just name just put the name out there. They cannot do it the same way, because that'd be just silly. It doesn't fit with the storyline. It doesn't fit to the content. The whole concept wouldn't just work. But you could take some elements of it. And I thought Lucifer right now is one of my favorite series right now. That would work pretty well, because Lucifer is just so incredibly gorgeous, and so he's a nice guy, but he's also the Lord of Hell, and that could sort of work for Sauron. And then I said, well, it could also be something like Versailles, which is all about at the court of Louis XIV. You have all of these backstabbing, the rumors, the fakes, all this stuff. And there is no reason, and I'm putting it out there just so to get slaughtered on the internet, is you can see Sauron and Ar-Pharazôn together in bed. It's, it's all possible, because Lucifer, for example, is someone who's open to everyone. That's what I loved about the series. He doesn't differentiate. Pleasure is all mine and yours, and that's
Well, it's a very Greek approach, in Greek mythology. Like, look at what the the Olympians basically did, or what even in the real world, the people of Athens and what they did. Yeah, I mean, I personally don't want to see that, but if they do, it's not me to. No, obviously.
Yeah.
This is now, you will be called out as woke and you will be cancelled, Marcel. Good luck.
I do not care at all. Yeah.
No, my viewers are not like that. They're actually nice. And okay, my cat is making an appearance. Do you want to come and say hi?
By the way, you there is really no proof against or for that particular situation.
Yeah.
I mean, the wonderful line is the absence of evidence is an evidence of absence. And you see, that's why for example, I have no issue at all with Tauriel and the Hobbit, because kick-ass elven captains of the guard women are no issue at all, because they definitely existed. Because if you're 3,000 years old, you know how to hold a sword and to kick some ass. The only thing that was really, really, really crappy and shitty was this horrible love triangle thing. That was just lazy. That was just lazy writing. You get a good-looking girl, and then she has to be in love with stare into my eyes, Legolas. That was just horrible. But Tauriel in the story as a new character is no problem at all. So that's the good thing about the Amazon series.
Yeah.
They have an age of the earth to fill.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't even know where to start.
Warriors. No, and we had female warriors. We had Haleth, for example. Take her. I mean, she was a human, right? But she was a badass. Take Eowyn, her decision then later was, okay, yeah, well, I now changed my mind. I, learned, I grew, I choose this path. But even that is, talking about feminism. Choice is feminism, right? And it's not about being a bad. Whatever you choose is your choice. If you, want to have 15 children, go for it. Who cares? Do whatever you want. So yeah, I would love to, and I was on Fellowship of Fans. Shout out to him. He's a really nice guy. He does lots of inside scoops for the show, and I was on his discussion panel, and we discussed about possibilities, of inclusions of strong female characters, because he always knows these things, who will be cast and what role is that and blah blah. And what I would love to see, look, I don't need a female Nazgul. It's okay.
Shadows of Mordor had twin sisters.
I know,
like the Klingon, the Klingon sisters. I thought there has to be a Star Trek fan at the Shadow of Mordor at Monolith at the production studio, because half of the story felt like some shit Next Generation Klingon episode. Anyway,
true.
yeah.
But I would totally be up for one of, I don't know, from Harad, from Rune, from wherever, like all these we don't know a lot about the areas, right? Or like a Black Numenorian warrior queen or something like that. I would be like playing with the themes of the Amazonians, somebody like Wonder Woman of Middle Earth. I would be totally up for that. I would actually really enjoy and like that aspect, and not, just pretty elves, with long hair being, I don't know.
Yeah, well, ugly elves is going to be difficult. It's really, it's a tough one. I mean, Tolkien doesn't really, And I wouldn't. I mean, it's not good or bad. It's to me, it's really interesting to see. And I mean, it's a tough job if I had to be a writer on that series, because the thing is, you have to start with a bang. We have to start with such a bang that everyone is going to say, "What did I just see?" Because I mean, they have invested a lot of money. Everything is planned at least 5 years, probably 10 years. Yeah. They're going to have extra spin-offs, all this kind of stuff. I mean, Fellowship does this so wonderfully well in showing all of this. But the thing is, series can go down. We've seen good series, mediocre series, bad series, and they all were dropped after a season without, explanation or anything. and I
Why did
don't want that to
Firefly
happen.
why was Firefly cancelled? Can we talk about
Yeah,
this
the
anyway?
legend.
Oh my
Yeah, I know,
god.
I know, I know. Yeah,
Every
Broncos
Christmas I
rule.
would every
Yeah,
Christmas I rewatch it. Anyway. Yes, and
the dialogue on
I
Firefly is
know,
so
I know,
amazing,
I
and that's so
know.
much fun.
I know.
Uh, yeah,
Anyway, the thing is, they have what you just mentioned. Look, the production studio has to bring. They have to satisfy a lot of people. They have to
yeah.
satisfy somebody like they don't have to, but they obviously
No,
know. I work in marketing. I know exactly how do you approach things. You look, who's my
yeah,
audience? What audience can I win additionally? What
yeah,
audience is watching similar shows? What do they like? What do they hate? What do I need to bring here? But
yeah,
then they are working with material that exists. There are people like you and me, they have to, like bring
yeah,
in and not hate on the show and go on social media and be like, what is this? They
yeah,
want
yeah.
to also kind of satisfy. You can't satisfy book nerds like us, but
Nah,
still.
no. No, well, it's
um,
the book. You can't compare the book to the series. You can,
I know.
but maybe you shouldn't.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
That's my approach. But still, there are so many. There are new audiences, like not children, but like I don't know, 16, 17, 18-year olds who
It's a
will
new
tune in,
generation. It's a new
and you
generation of people.
yeah, then my father, your parents, these people will probably also tune in. So how do you this is not easy because the target
Uh,
group is, yes, it's fantasy, obviously. So that's a genre. But Tolkien is more than just fantasy, right? He is at this point, he's what we actually talk to, he's a father of fantasy in a way. And then he created this whole genre in a way. And so he's more than like Game of Thrones, A Song of Ice and Fire is very, for me, political fantasy. Yes, with fantasy, high fantasy elements, but it's more about, I would say, the political and these, things are more important for Game of Thrones. It's not as much as magic users and stuff like that. And I do think in the Second Age, magic hasn't disappeared in the Second Age. Yes, the Age of Men is coming closer and closer and closer, but you still have high fantasy elements in the Second Age. I think we will see that in
yeah,
Numenor when literally Sauron is going there, building the Temple of Doom, worshipping Morgoth, burning people alive. I think you will get elements of that there. Forging of the rings, how does that work? You can
yeah,
ask
yeah,
your book, you can ask your guy, who wants to find out how Mithril, how can you forge
yeah, yeah,
this
yeah.
ring
Oh,
if you
Henry has an idea how it worked. Yeah, yeah, yeah. They have an
okay
idea. Yeah, yeah,
okay
yeah.
make call me because I need this ring. One
Uh,
ring to rule them all, people.
sure.
So this will be very interesting, but I'm
And I
positive.
think it's really difficult in a sense because on the one hand we are fans. We want to have a great story, want to have a great series, want to get new stories and new characters and all sorts of stuff. But that's sort of an idealistic view of
Yeah,
things. I mean, we
yeah,
would wish for great stories and a cast and a crew that really love what they're doing,
yeah,
which would always visibly translate into something that is awesome.
yeah,
Because you always have these press junkets where people say, "Oh, it was wonderful working together with that director and my
mhm,
colleagues in the cast. That was fantastic." And then you see the film, the series, and it's crap, and it's something they have to do.
of
But
course.
sometimes, just sometimes, you can feel
Yeah.
that this just really works out. It's just they have fun. It's engaging. It's interesting. But at the
Christopher
same time,
Lee. Look at somebody like Christopher Lee, right? Like he was born
yeah,
for this role. He knew
yeah,
Tolkien himself, right? I think he
he
knew.
met him. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Well,
He
like
was the
what?
only one on the production. Yeah, he
Yeah,
met Tolkien. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, and like he helped them out sometimes, and said, "Oh no, this should be, be in the different,
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah. But that's
so,
the, but that's the thing. You have to see the successes from the Lord of the Ring films trilogy changed film history.
it
That it
did.
really made film history. You can say whatever you want, if it's good or bad or whatever, but it changed film history. How films were being made.
Well, that was
How
Star Wars
successful.
in the 70s. So I give that to Star Wars because he
Star
was ahead of
Wars.
his time.
Star Wars is responsible for one thing, and that's George Lucas' fault all. And
JFA.
that is no, it's merchandise. Everything
Also,
that we have today is merchandise. How films are being made and how merchandise adds to the
yeah,
income and the value of the film product.
yeah,
That is all George Lucas. He
yeah,
single-handedly made that.
Yeah, but
So if
also
anyone
VFX
is
and these techniques, and how you
sure,
tell a story without just, looking at somebody's eyes, but it's
Industrial Light and Magic,
the
yeah,
whole visual picture tells also a story, and
yeah,
you can achieve that with good technique. So that would I would give that to Lucas. I would not be.
yeah,
I'm a
yeah, yeah,
total
yeah, yeah.
Star Wars geek. I told you before.
Very happy to hear it. No, but the thing is that after that kind of success, and then you
Yeah,
have something like Game of Thrones, which was the first series
yeah,
of epic proportions, because
yeah,
they for 7 8 seasons they ruled the
yeah,
landscape, and it was
yeah,
incredible. Had the
yeah,
numbers they had, the success they had, it was hilarious. I
yeah,
mean, every other series could do whatever they wanted. They could
yeah.
have danced naked on the streets. It wouldn't have made any difference at all against Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Now, Jeff Bezos is not going to spend like $1 billion or
No.
more
No.
on a series that is not at least or much better, more successful than this. And you are
Of
in
course.
marketing. Sometimes you know how it works, you have the ideas of how it should work, but sometimes things just drop like a stone
Yeah.
because you have to do it at the right time. You have to drive the right people. It has to fit together.
But
And
they
that
have
is
all the
so
data. This
difficult.
is, I know, but they have all the data. This is why Amazon is doing
Uh,
this. They have from you, from me, from everybody buying books, toys,
yeah.
they know exactly how to market the F out of this show. It will be
Yeah, I know.
successful
I
just
know.
because of that. And then they have the platform additionally
Yeah.
to even sell you everything, the books, the toys, and whatnot. So
Yeah.
this is a whole concept. This all makes sense from start to finish, looking from a marketing perspective.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Good for you, Jeff. Like, seriously.
Yeah, as I think that Bezog definitely had. I mean, Azog Bezog. I think that's my nickname. I came up with that because that's
Love it.
anyway.
I will
Yeah,
trademark it. I want a shirt, Marcel.
I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure he's not gonna have me trademark that. Anyway, no, the thing is that yeah, well, it's
The
Bezog. I mean,
defiler. The
yeah,
defiler.
no, he has to have a different nomiker for him, but
The
that's
We'll
it's
think
it's
about
pure
something.
imagination.
Yeah.
Amazon wasn't the only one who came up with this series. There were other companies trying for
Oh,
this series. I know
really?
that's not really well known, but
Yeah.
it's not like that Bezos came up and said, "Yeah, let's do some series."
Yeah.
People were interested, other companies were interested because everyone knew. I did a talk in 2002 on Oxenmoot
Yeah.
saying how the next 20 years would look like when The Hobbit would be done and when what series came out. And everyone laughed at me and said, Marcel, they're not going to do The Hobbit in 5 or 6 years' time, and they're not going to do some series that's just nonsense and reboot. And I said,
Yeah.
we are gonna have the IP. We're gonna have intellectual property. We're
Yeah.
gonna have the brand. We're gonna have Tolkien explode. I
Yeah.
didn't know quite when, but I thought that The Hobbit would come 5 to 7 years later, and
Yeah.
then a series 5 to 7 years later, and
Yeah.
now here we are. And everyone wanted to have a piece of that
Yeah.
cake.
Yeah.
So huge companies applied for that. And the rumor is, and that's at least a rumor I've heard, the reason why this has happened is because there is one company in the world that does books better than anyone else.
Mm. Okay. Yeah, it makes sense. Although they're not a public, but I think I read once that they own shares. They don't talk about it, but they own shares in publishing houses. So it makes sense because as of now, we know that the platform that sells it, yes, that makes also
Yeah.
money, but being the publishing house, obviously makes you a bit.
And doing novelizations and
Yeah,
doing new novels and have, let's say, the 10 most successful fantasy authors of our time
yeah,
write a novel set in Numenor.
yeah. Yeah, but that, I mean, would Tolkien estate, because what I've had is the last thing that will come out is
Yeah.
actually the book that the nature of Middle Earth.
Yeah.
But maybe that things change. They said we're not going to make it, so who, never say never here, but
Yeah.
maybe that could be so, like Sanderson with the Wheel of Time, right? For me it worked. I haven't read all the books. I've read most of them, but it's also a while ago. But it worked there. Somebody else taking over. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, because I think Robert Jordan, before he died, he had 1 or 2 novels more or less finished,
Yeah.
and the plot
And
line
send
and
us.
everything. So
Yeah.
he had basically just gave him the manuscript in a sense. That's where I want to
Yeah.
go, and I know you can do it.
Yeah.
So and I'm definitely, before the series starts, I have it on my to read list for like 20 years.
Yeah.
Because I think one of my best friends and colleagues has done the German translation on that,
Oh,
and he always said, it's in German. For those of you out there who are not German, our language is much longer than yours. You have to add about 13% in German to an English text.
crazy.
So
Yeah.
if you have 100 pages in English, you have 113 in German. So
Yeah.
all of the Robert Jordan Wheel of Time books, which are about that size,
Yeah.
had to be cut into 2 parts. So we
This
have
is what
double
they did with A Song of Ice and Fire, by the way.
Yeah, it's the double number of novels. So I have I think 25 or 26 Wheel of Time books in Germany,
Yeah, I know.
which annoys the hell out of readers, because you have to pay double the money in a sense.
Yeah.
But that's just, it's a fact. It's a fact. It's a German fact. It's unfortunate, but that's how it is.
Yeah.
And I'm definitely going to read the books before I watch the series, because I want to have the story first, because that's the original.
Do you want to?
original
Okay.
always, yeah.
Yeah,
That's
but
why I
then you
read
have
The
to hurry,
Witcher.
Marcel. Then you have to hurry, Marcel,
I know.
because it's coming out in November or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, I know. Well, the first novel or 2 novels I will probably make. I'm not going to make all of 13,
No.
but the first season's definitely not going to be
No.
novels 4
It's
to 7. Yeah.
Yeah. Ooh, exciting. I think you like. I mean, there are a lot of like. He tells us about this, looks like this is for like 15 pages, so not the biggest fan of that, but the whole world he's creating, I love that. This is also why I don't love the Hobbit, because I don't need 25 pages telling me how a Hobbit hole looks like. Nah, I'm not into that. But this is me, a lot of people are into that. I also must admit, I'm somebody who sometimes in Lord of the Rings skips the songs because I'm bored at some point.
People do, I know.
Because I know the content now of this song, right? And I know the backstory now, knowing the whole legendarium. So I don't really.
Gil-galad was an elven king. Of him the harpers sadly sing, the last who's fair and free between the mountains and the sea. I mean, sorry, you cannot skip that, because it's Gil-galad.
That is a good one, but there are other ones.
I know. I love this stuff. I'm really happy, because I've met. I mean, obviously, I've talked to hundreds and thousands of fans from all different backgrounds and questions. And people say, I don't read the preface. I don't read about hobbits. I don't care for that stuff.
Yeah,
I just love it. But everyone has a different approach to how to enjoy a story, and that's one of the most important things. And that's why I like about YouTube. And I only realized how interesting and how entertaining and how approachable a YouTube video can be, because my best man has 2 daughters and a young son, and the youngest daughter is a total Tolkien nut. And I didn't know. She came up to me. I visited them last year, and she came up to me with a folder full of pages, and she's listening to Tolkien Erklärt, to Ariel.
I love him. Yeah, he's
which is
good.
One of the best German YouTube channels on Tolkien.
He is,
he does explain Tolkien Erklärt, it's the German word for it. And she came up and said, Marcel, I know you know Tolkien very well. My daddy said so. I have a few questions. And she opened up like 120 pages of shit she had written down. Said, I looked up, appendices and The Lord of the Rings, because obviously Christoph, my best man, has everything at home. He's also in the committee of the German Tolkien Society, just, to explain that.
But I love that she's asking you and not her dad.
she's like, what, 9 or 10? And she's on a level. And I thought, that is, it's really good stuff. It's not, you cannot in a 1-hour video on YouTube go into the details and the fine things and everything. But the amount of information, how good the information was, that was so impressive. And I said, no, you're doing good. And if you have to ask, and I said, you look there, I had this book, and your dad has probably this one. And she was like, okay, cool. I'm going to go for the next episode then. And that's hilarious. That's how it should be. That people are just
But a lot of people
passionate.
tell you Yes, but a lot of people tell you that in the comment section that they then look up stuff. I'm telling them, because how I write this is why it takes me forever to write a video. Thing is,
Yeah,
I don't copy a Wikipedia article. I think people might have noticed that by now.
yeah.
So what I do
Some
is
people did, yeah.
so what I do is basically really I did a video about Aldarion and the Renders. I read the whole
Yeah,
thing, then I looked up, letters on it, then I do all the prep, and then I
yeah.
write. So basically my video is an essay. I write that down, and then I read it out,
And
and
it's
then I
ton
do.
of work, and it's a ton of work.
It's a lot of work. It really takes a long time. And I just wrote a video on the Palantiri. So I, looked up all the, and
Yeah,
the thing is, for Tolkien, there's a 12-volume series on Middle, the 12-volume series. Then you have like stuff like Unfinished Tales. Then you have the three great tales. Then you have the three books. The Silmarillion, like literally this
yeah,
insane people, like my bookshelf,
yeah,
and so this is how you do that. And I really, this is why I like YouTube and like doing this, because you would never do that at home, right? So giving people this form of content,
yeah.
all
True.
combined in a 12, 20
Yeah,
minute video, how she approaches it, and then
yeah,
people go back and read the Aldarion and Erendis story because they're interested, because I just teased it and can't tell the whole
yeah.
story. I love that. And
And the story is fantastic. It's an absolutely fascinating story.
yes, yeah,
And it's very human. I mean, okay, we have elves
yes,
and Yunmorians and whatever, but it's a very human story about,
yeah.
how does a relationship work? What do you want from it? What are you willing to
Yeah,
sacrifice or not?
and also
So,
father and son, the whole story, and you think, this is all blissful there, shouldn't it be? He was just the
nah,
sixth king. He was very close to still the first OG king, Eros, so who was,
yeah,
like perfect probably. But even with him, you can see, and his father passing by a Silmarian, who should be queen. And you said it before, how is
yeah,
kingship defined? Why is it, how's it called, primogenitor? When only,
primogenitor. Yeah.
yeah. So this is really interesting how Tolkien even brings these things like colonization, like who is fit to rule. And then he shows, I am with Corey, Corey Olsen, right? So
Yeah.
yeah,
The Tolkien professor. Yeah,
yeah, I love Corey. He's one of the nicest guys. And I've been following the university for like 5 years or something now. I listen to all the videos, and there's a Marillion series he does on
yeah,
the channel. I'll link it down below, people. This is really good. It's deep stuff, it's long videos, but it's very interesting for everybody interested. And I have him on my channel to talk about unfit to rule queens of Numenor, and how,
uh,
yeah,
yeah.
and why does he is this like the she wolves of Britain, right? She wolves of England? Is it Queen Matilda and all these, things that happened in our real history?
Yeah.
Can you compare it? And so many cool and interesting things happen in Numenor, because we
Yeah.
actually wanted to talk about Numenor. So
And then
all
you have
that,
royalty. You have Aragorn, who is one of the Dunedain, and then the tradition of him becoming a fit to rule king and what
yeah,
he has to do, and the generations and so on.
yeah,
So, and I think that's one of the best things about Tolkien is that he's actually have this really thin red line that goes through ages,
yes,
virtually, practically ages,
yeah,
because Fëanor is there, and then Celebrimbor, but he's the grandson. I mean, that's
mhm.
just it's granddad did all of those for the fans of Fëanor wonderful things. For the not so much fans, shit, man, you burnt down anyway. And then
Your
his
people.
grandson, and then you see what he does, and there are lines of traditions of thoughts of
Yes,
how things should be or not be, and
yeah,
it's absolutely fascinating because the cheating thing. This is the long-lived elves who live as long as Arda, but still there's so much. Really, I know this is the right channel for this, and there are so many wonderful YouTube channels for this. It's so much fascinating stuff in Tolkien, and
yeah,
it's still many of these things are still relevant today. And
yes,
sometimes
yeah,
they're even, I mean, one of the things that is really up to date right now is the climate catastrophe ecology, about
hmm,
survival of our very earth, and
yeah,
Tolkien obviously being on the side of things, the industrialization and
nature,
destroying
yeah,
of forests. it's
Yeah.
just not a good idea.
Mm-mm.
And so some of this stuff actually comes back
It does.
to haunt
Yeah.
us.
Yeah.
In the 60s, he was the first. I mean, back then people were called tree huggers.
I know.
Sometimes they're still called that today, but
I
back
know.
then it was really derogatory. But
Yeah.
today people have realized we need our woods. We need
Yeah.
the Amazon not to burn,
Yeah.
because otherwise we are seriously in trouble.
Yeah.
So and Tolkien was a visionary on all these things ecological, you know.
Yes, I would agree, although I would partly disagree. I think for him it was more the feeling of home because, this is what you see mirrored in, we're getting a bit
The Shire
philosophical now.
and
Yes,
yeah,
exactly. So because that was his home and he saw, living in Birmingham, he saw a lot of that. That was one of the most industrialized cities
yeah,
at that time when he lived there. And he
yeah,
saw, woods going, he saw all that. So yes, I would agree with you. I don't think
sure,
he had that whole, we like the oxygen. Well, I don't think he had that in mind. It was more the picture he had and his childhood memories and all that. And people need. He was in war, and what is in during war times, like you see it in somebody like Sam. What kept Sam going? The
yeah,
thinking of the Shire, thinking of. He did all this for Rosie, for the Shire, for the feeling, for his father, for the feeling of home and community. This is why what kept him going, right? And I
yeah,
think this is what Tolkien also, with the trees, with these things, wanted to tell us. It was not just, people,
yeah,
start using electrical
true,
cars and all. It,
true.
yeah,
But the thing is, I mean, one of the touching moments in the film trilogy is when Frodo says, you know, the Shire has been saved, Sam, but not for me. You know,
yeah,
that's the kind of stuff
I
that
know.
everyone who has a family, who has kids, will easily identify with this kind of
Yeah,
stuff, because
yeah,
you truly, it's really not that difficult. You want
no,
your kids to have a better life, and you want to
yes,
have an earth that is not burning,
no,
right? So
yeah,
and that's something that particularly the hobbits, you really exemplify.
yeah,
They do know at some point in time, both Sam and Frodo realize they're not going to come back.
yeah,
They know they're not going to make it. I mean, Sam actually, it's one of those thoughts in the text where he says he has been saving, you know, a bit of lambas here and a bit of water there, and
yeah.
maybe, but we're not gonna come back. And
It's
he's
not
not,
lasting for way back. Yes,
and
yeah,
then giving his last water to
yeah.
Frodo.
Well,
You
he
know,
was a Christian. Sacrificing is a big, big aspect. What did Jesus do, right? So,
sure,
yeah,
definitely. I mean, that's also definitely a Christian value.
yeah,
And Tolkien, obviously being a very devout Roman Catholic, that is definitely one of his mindsets that
yeah,
has and had an influence on the story.
yeah.
But beyond the religion and beyond Christianity, I think that both other religions and people who are
Oh,
not necessarily,
no,
it's understandable. It's very understandable for
totally.
everyone, particularly when you have the kids and you want it
Yeah.
to just be right, you know.
No,
Yeah,
obviously,
yeah.
yeah. And I love, what you said, that it every all of the fellowship, they had a different story, but you think they all experienced the same thing actually, right? They experienced this war, this final last war against
Yeah.
evil, but all of them ended up in complete different places, had what they took away from this, from their journey, was something like Sam, completely different than what Frodo experienced, and it's
Yeah.
fascinating.
Legolas and
I
Gimli, yeah,
Yes,
absolutely
and
different.
yeah, it's really how he portrays that. Yeah, and the religious aspect. And I'm not a very, very religious person, but yes, I believe in things. I don't need to give them this and this name, but
Mm.
I'm also interested in how that aspect, because as you said, yes, he was a Christian. How that will play out in the show? Will they completely,
Oh yeah,
like
that's a very good
it?
topic. The,
It
the the temple at Melentarma, when Sauron has finally got his sacrifices going on the top of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, a holy
Okay.
mountain that was just, just the king was allowed to go there and do it. Yeah, very, very interesting. And
The
on,
fires never stop burning. Yeah,
yeah,
that's.
and
I mean, that's one of the things that I truly like about Tolkien. When if you do the comparison with the series with Game of Thrones, I
yeah,
mean, there's a lot of gratuitous violence and sex and whatever And I sometimes think that you do not have to have that kind of violence because it's lazy writing. You just want to have a shock effect, or you want to have
Yeah.
just some butts and ass. It's always okay. It always sells. But the thing is, Tolkien is far more violent. It's far more gruesome. It's
Yes.
more horrible than anything I've ever written, but he doesn't spell it out.
No.
He just alludes to it. He says, when he says that Sauron is possibly sacrificing people,
Yeah.
he only says the fire at the temples never stop burning.
Yeah.
That's all he says. And but if you show that, I mean, it's show, don't tell.
Yeah.
You know what the series is going to show, and I'm like, oh wow, that is going to be.
But visual works different, and you need to show different things.
Sure.
If you just hint in a visual medium, it doesn't work. That's a problem.
No.
Again, this is what I do for a living. So you need, if you have written text, it works different. Here for us in our mind, how we understand things visually, we work completely different, and we need to. What triggers us is also very different, because your imagination in a visual medium doesn't work as well as it does in a written medium. And so you need a different approach. But talking about religion, what I always found fascinating, because I do think Tolkien is not the best writer I've ever, came across.
I will contradict you on this anytime.
No, wait. Just the way he writes, because I personally prefer somebody like Lewis. I think the Narnia books are better in the style of writing. I'm just talking about the style. I prefer actually somebody like Lewis. But the whole world building, nobody ever did that, nobody ever did what Tolkien could do, and nobody ever will. And that is, but what I didn't like about Lewis is his religious boom in your face.
That is really in your face. Yeah, true.
Yeah, I don't like that. They in the movies, it wasn't as I didn't see it in the movies, but if you read the books, I did not like that. How he wants you to literally become a Christian, and he tells you basically what to feel. Tolkien never tells you what to feel. You can take away whatever you want. For me, Sam is the hero. For you, Sauron is the hero, whatever. I like that. A lot of authors can't do this. This is very what Tolkien is. And there's not one hero. They're like all of this is, the whole thing of the story. Name the major player in Game of Thrones, in Lord of the Rings. Can you?
That is personal preference. Some people will say Samwise Gamgee because he's the person that Frodo has to rely on, and without him, it would never have happened. Some say Frodo because he sacrificed himself. He bore the ring. He had the greatest of traumas of all of them. It's Aragorn because he actually comes to the fate that he has seen coming.
He's the chosen one, right? Shouldn't he be the protagonist? He's the chosen one. He's King Arthur. How is he not?
Yeah, but the thing is that is, although Tolkien has very traditional and very ritual usage of, it's almost, it's Jungian, it's archetype, it's traditional storytelling, it's tropes, but he's always goes beyond and does a little twist in the story. I mean, the heroes are actually anti-heroes. Hobbits are not bloody heroes. They're tiny. Most of them have hairy feet. And they eat too much food all of the time, and it's like really difficult to keep them from talking in the pub.
Frodo is reluctant. He's not like, okay, let's go on an adventure. He doesn't want to do it. Yeah. He's afraid. He's the reluctant hero. So
and I've been bitten and stung and cut and all of these things, and he should be a hero, but he cannot enjoy it. He cannot enjoy. In the end, the peace that he has brought to Middle Earth and has helped bring about. So but the thing is, a lot of people, when they say Tolkien as a writer or the quality of prose, whatever, I know that a very, very good friend of mine who is in publishing once said to me a couple of years ago, today, The Lord of the Rings, that would never be published. That's creative writing 101. I mean, he starts out talking about some utterly irrelevant people. That's just it's an info dump with no value at all. Then he goes on about 100 pages, just walking, chatting, food, home, safe home, adventure, safe home, adventure, safe home, adventure. It's like, it's horrible. That's, if you were in the first semester of creative writing, you'd be chucked out at university for that.
Yeah.
And
there's not one ending, there are 2, 3, 4, 5 endings.
And the thing is, the good thing is, about 50, 75 years ago, publishing was different.
Yeah.
You had a shot at writing an odd book, an unusual story, something that would just blow your mind.
Yeah.
And today, it's very much it's everywhere around the world. The single most important person in a publishing house by now is not the editor, is not the owner, is not the vision of the publishing house. It's the key account manager for Amazon.
I know.
That is unfortunate, but that's a fact.
Yeah.
And so stories and books that are done today have to be different. They don't have to be worse, but they're definitely different. And The Lord of the Rings would never have been published because Tolkien is actually not a professional writer. He's a professor.
Yes.
He's a linguist. His job is he's a teacher at one of the best universities in the world. That was his job. And the rest was just a hobby, a secret vice.
Yeah.
So lovely, he said. Yeah.
Well,
no, he doesn't fit the bill. He doesn't really fit. Some of the people say, he's a shit writer, complain about that, and then people say,
No, I wouldn't say that. I just because I love.
There are dissertations on the quality of the prose. People say he's the best writer ever, and I'm like, interesting. Well, let's talk about this then.
Beg to differ. But again, this is what I say. Literature is art. Yay! Literature is art, and here you see something completely different in this painting than I do, because you're from a different town, you're from a different background. This is okay. It's okay. Let's discuss it. And this is why I love these formats. This is why I invited you. You being a scholar, me being a crazy girl on the internet.
Well, you love Feyenoord, you have to be crazy, right?
Exactly. No,
sorry,
actually,
I had to.
I really always say that. I really love the character of Sauron, and I'm so happy. I love Gollum, and because I've never seen and met and read about a character like Gollum, because you have so many feelings about people. Ask somebody, everybody will tell you a different story how they feel about this. Is really cool writing and inventing that kind of character, which I've never met before. But I like the aspect we get more of Sauron, because I always knew, having read all the other additional material, dude started off as Tevildo, the Prince of Cats, right? So
Sauron is a furry. Sauron is basically a furry. Either
he is.
He's a cat, and he's a vampire bat, and sometimes
I'm Turingwitil, Anyway, I was born in Transylvania. I didn't know if I told you that. My parents.
No, you haven't.
My parents used to live there at that time. So I was born in Transylvania. I played in the in Castle Bran in the dungeon. My mum was an art student.
How cool!
Yeah,
the real castle, not the
No. My mom is an arts professor, and she studied there at that time, and she did medieval church and castle painting, analyzing, blah blah blah, and she studied there, and I played there as a kid in the dungeon.
See, that's one of the odd anecdotes that you tend to tell at parties, and people go like, "What? You are a relative of Vlad Tepes or what?" No. That's how rumors are started.
But what they did, with Celebrimbor, putting him on the stick and everything, is what the real Dracula, Vlad Tepes, did, to tell the Turks or the Ottoman Empire, dudes, don't cross this line here.
There is a river of blood waiting for you. Yes.
Exactly.
Quite charming, the man.
Yes, he was a good ruler, but anyway, let's not talk about that. One day I'll make a video on that. But so let's sum this up a little bit. I really enjoyed that, and maybe I hope we can continue this, Marcel, when we know more maybe about the show. We will find a topic Aldarion and Randy's story I did. There is, this is what I thought about you could be interested in. Maybe I'll have Corey on as well for that. What we could
cool.
do, if you're interested, I love, the dialogue about the gift of men, and with, oh my god, I forgot the chapter. You know what I mean? The mortal, what's her name? She's talking to Finrod.
Andreth.
Andreth.
Yeah.
Exactly. I would love to analyze that one day.
That's a good chapter as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but we will definitely, I hope, hopefully, do something again.
Absolutely. I'd love that. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. And Marcel, to plug this, Marcel also has started a channel next to, I don't know if you want to,
Oh God, my
grow that.
channel. Oh no.
Come
Yeah.
on, let's plug that.
Yeah.
Everybody subscribe, and we make Marcel do more content on the channel. But obviously, I'll link all the details there. I promised Marcel I'll become a member of the German Tolkien Society. I was thinking actually about that a long time ago. I'll definitely become that, and yeah, we will do more in the future. Hopefully, if you want to. I really enjoyed that. Not just because you're German, but this is, what I told. I think two worlds, come together here. You being in this, very educational part of Tolkien's universe. Me just being a random fan, growing up with it. Yes, but I do something completely different in my regular life. But we still, can discuss things, and I love that how we
exactly. Yeah. We are now fifth generation Tolkien fans in a sense. If you go through if you throw through the generations, and we're gonna see a new generation coming with the series, and there's gonna be so much fun with that.
Yeah.
And I can only hope that we're gonna have a couple of conventions, especially for the series and meetups and stuff. Yeah, that's definitely gonna be fun.
Dressing up as a Noldor, and you'll come as Círdan. Let's make it happen, Marcel. Start growing a beard.
No. Actually, I always wanted to do the Olve, because the thing is, there are only two artists in the world who have done an image of Olve. The one is actually one of the Polish illustrators who did that many years ago, and then I suggested to Jenny Dolphin.
Oh,
to Jenny
is also a German, right?
She is German, yes, exactly. Yeah. And the thing is, if you look up her Olve, it was drawn on the 4th of September in 2012.
Okay.
And I am born on the 3rd of September. Aww. I suggested that to her. And maybe if you look at that Olve, you should maybe look at my profile then.
Okay.
And I have to be white-haired. That's the problem, because Olve is white-haired.
Yes.
So I would have to go for a wig and kind of stuff. And
we'll make it happen, Marcel.
Let's see.
Yeah, we'll make it happen. Good. Olwe is also the father of Eärwen, right? Finarfin's wife. Yes. Yeah.
Olwe does a lot of cool things.
Yeah. Ish.
Oh, come on!
What? He leaves his brother behind. What the F? No. Sorry.
No, come on, no. He's leaving his people behind for some chick. That's the point here. You have to see he's standing there for years staring into
200. It was only two. What is 200 years for elves? He was so hot to go west. He literally left and abandoned his brother and, told some Teleri, okay, let's continue our journey. F this dude. Let's go to the Undying Lands. I don't know.
That's where's the party at. Yeah, well, we can build ships and have fun.
Yeah. Anyway.
There you go.
Good. So, Marcel, last thought. So, what is your? Let's talk about the whole Tolkien universe. What do you love most? What keeps you going, Tolkien wise?
I mean, you can ask people, for example, what's your favorite Tolkien story? And if you ask them over a couple of years, that will sometimes change. Because depending on who you are and what you are and what you do for a living, or if you move or you have a family,
we grow,
and these stories change. And to me, right now, often it's Tree, Leaf by Nigel, because it's such a beautiful, lovely, tiny, short, deep, emotional story, and probably the only autobiographical story he, Tolkien
Yeah.
ever wrote, in a sense. And
Yeah.
because there was a stage rendition at
Mhm.
the Fringe Festival, Edinburgh Festival, by Puppet State Theatre, which is absolutely gorgeous, and it was absolutely fantastic, a
Mhm.
one-man show. And what keeps
Mhm.
me going is that I meet people from all over the world, from all cultures, from all backgrounds, and they all interact with it with such
Yeah.
passion and such. I'm not as artistic and I'm not as creative as so many other people. I'm not an
Yeah.
illustrator, and I'm not doing cosplay, and I'm not on stage, but how people interact with it and have so much joy and fun, and how
Yeah.
they share this passion and
Yeah.
enthusiasm. That
Yeah.
is what keeps me going,
Yeah.
because you can meet some Finnish drunk dude with a bottle of vodka, slamming you for not having literary societies in your
Yeah.
80 million country,
Yeah.
but
And,
that's
a
just
spark
fun.
of imagination. I think that is,
And
yeah.
yeah, and that's so much. I mean, we always have to have a look out, critically at things. We have to have, that's what inclusion diversity is, a very important topic in
Yeah.
recent years, and it's going to get even better, I'm quite sure.
Yeah.
But there are so many people coming to these stories from so many different backgrounds, and they
Yeah.
all love it. And
Yeah.
that's something that's, you meet up somewhere on a conference in
Yeah.
the United States, in France, in Italy, in Japan,
Yeah.
and you will say, "Oh, I like Fingolfin,"
Mhm.
and two people will say, "Yeah, me too." And then
Yeah.
there's this guy Finar. Then the nickname
And
is
you bond
Finarfin.
and yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, okay,
Oh,
Fingolfin. Yeah,
cool.
no, that's what I love about this. And you doing your YouTube channel, and so many people on YouTube doing this, it's so obvious that people love these
Yes.
stories
Yeah.
because,
Yeah. There's a high demand. And I think even, I mean, it's a stupid topic, but this whole pandemic and this apocalypse, as I call it, I think
yeah,
people, they took more time, and they took time of, the hectic life and all that. And this is a bit what, like the Shire and these books also stand for, like standing still for a moment. Somebody
yeah,
like Eowyn's choice, to not, keep chasing this warrior life and all these things. And I think
yeah,
this really gave a lot of people perspective. And I think, and I know that these kind of channels we have, or going back to books and stuff like that, really helped a lot of people. This is what many
yeah,
people told me. I want to tell my story about what keeps me going. A really nice, I don't want to say his name, it's probably not his real name, but on Instagram told me he subscribed to my channel, and he's from Egypt. And he said, there are not many
yeah,
people that love Tolkien in Egypt, and he has nobody to really talk to for in
yeah,
his circle of friends, or even in his city. That there is no Tolkien Society. Maybe he should found one. Shout out to you, if you're
yeah.
watching this. And
Just do
he
it.
just do it. And he grew up, his dad taught him, he gave him the books, and he only had his dad to talk about
Yeah.
that, and his dad died. And
Uh,
this is what he still, he cherishes the memory of his dad by, going back to the books and everything. And he said something so beautiful, and he said, I'm listening to your channel and to your thoughts, because
yeah.
I want to learn what other people think of the books and whatnot. And I keep listening, and I wish, I could tell my dad and discuss what you said with my dad. And isn't that
Yeah.
so cool? I really love that.
That that is really beautiful. I mean,
Yeah.
particularly the Lord of the Rings has helped so many people.
Yes.
I've read that so many times during the
Yeah.
pandemic that
Yeah.
because it is a feat of endurance. It's a horrible situation. It's
Yeah.
something that you have to, if you're lucky enough, you will have a couple of friends or maybe family to
Yeah.
go through this together. But if you're
Yeah.
alone,
Yeah.
then this story really does help you, lift spirits and just plug on and try to keep going, because
Yeah.
it's not going to end or go away that quickly, so.
No.
And with me, when I started out, one of the reasons why I founded the Tolkien Society was, when I started out back in the day, I thought I was the only Tolkien fan in the world,
Yeah.
because nobody else knew the stories, and there was no internet. You couldn't just
No.
look up any
Yeah.
website or whatever, or go online and
Yeah.
do any hybrid event. And I thought, I want to meet people that I can
Yeah.
talk to about this cool shit.
Yeah. And
And
you know,
that's why we have it.
a sense of community is this is why
Yeah,
people are on YouTube. This is why they come to the chats and want to discuss, and sense of community is important. We are, you know, we're not
yeah,
robots. We need this to survive. And yeah,
yeah.
it's
And that's
beautiful.
what the stories that Tolkien wrote so superbly do.
Yes.
They bring people together.
It's a fellowship. Look, it's not one hero, it's a fellowship.
Ding! I knew that the name would drop at some point.
Anyway, cool. Marcel, again, I really enjoyed this. Thank you for coming on. People
Thank you
will
for having me.
continue this. So thank you, my lovelies. I hope you enjoyed this. Put down in the comment sections if you have questions, if you want to know more about what Marcel does. Follow him everywhere. I can recommend his Twitter. It's really entertaining. It is. And yeah, see you soon, my lovelies. Thank you for listening. Auf Wiedersehen.
Tschüss.